The silent void. The galaxy was quiet that night. The stars shined like tiny fires far away, but in the middle of that endless darkness floated a fleet of alien warships. They were strong, they were proud, and they believed no one could challenge them here. For years, these ships had ruled the outer rim, crushing smaller species, stealing resources, and building their empire piece by piece. Inside the command deck of the alien flagship, Admiral Vayar sat in his high chair. His golden eyes scanned the stars with calm confidence. Around him, officers worked on glowing consoles. The sound of clicking claws and soft electronic beeps filled the air. For them, it was just another patrol. Another night in the cold void of space. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous. But then, silence fell. The sound of the consoles still buzzed, but every officer felt something strange in the air. It was like the stars themselves had gone cold. A young officer raised his head and whispered, "Admiral, sensors show something, but it is unclear." The Admiral frowned. "Unclear? Explain." The officer's voice trembled. "It is large, very large, but it gives no signal. No engine heat, no ID code, nothing." The bridge grew tense. Ships, even the biggest ones, always gave some sign of life. A radiation leak, an energy wave, even a whisper of power. But this thing was like a ghost. "Show it to me," the Admiral ordered. On the main screen, the stars shifted, and there, hidden in the darkness, a shadow appeared. Massive, too massive. It was not drifting like normal debris. It was not a natural rock. It was shaped. It was built. The officers froze in shock. One muttered, "It cannot be real." "That size, it's impossible." Another whispered, "Maybe it is a moon." But deep inside, they all knew. This was no moon. This was no natural body. This was a ship, a warship, and it was awake. The Admiral's chest grew heavy. He had heard whispers before, ancient rumors from distant corners of the galaxy. Tales of a species that fought with fire in their hearts and storms in their hands. Tales of a people who built ships not just to travel, but to conquer. Humans. But that was impossible. The humans were supposed to be far away, locked in their own sector, contained, controlled. Yet here, in the silent void, a human battleship was staring back at them. The officers began to murmur in panic. "It cannot be humans. They are myths. They are stories for children. Then explain this shadow." Another officer snapped. The Admiral raised a clawed hand, silencing them all. His golden eyes never left the screen. He studied the shadow. It did not move fast, but every inch of its presence was heavy, terrifying. It was like the void itself had grown teeth. "Open comms," he ordered. The officers tried. They sent signal after signal. No answer, only silence. The shadow did not reply. It only floated there, massive and waiting, like a predator hiding in tall grass. The silence became unbearable. Then, without warning, lights appeared across the shape. Long lines of red and white, glowing like the eyes of some giant beast. The human battleship was waking up. Gasps filled the alien bridge. Officers jumped back from their consoles. Fear spread quickly. "Admiral," one officer whispered, his voice shaking, "if that is a human ship, we cannot fight it. They say a single human battleship can destroy entire fleets." The Admiral's jaw tightened. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to believe it was just a ghost, a trick of the void. But deep inside, he knew the truth. This was no ghost. This was a warning. The battleship had come out of the darkness for them. Still, he stood tall and strong before his officers. "We will not panic," he said firmly. "Perhaps it is just passing." But even as he said those words, he did not believe them. The shadow shifted again. Slowly, its massive hull turned. Its size was beyond belief. It dwarfed the alien flagship. Guns, towers, and unknown weapons lined its body. Each one glowed faintly, like the heartbeat of a monster. The young officer's claws tapped nervously on the console. "Admiral, it is aiming at us." The Admiral's golden eyes narrowed. "Prepare defenses. Power up shields." At once, the alien fleet moved into action. Engines roared, shields hummed, and weapons pointed at the dark shadow. Yet no one felt safe. The silence pressed down on them, heavier than any sound. The human battleship did not rush. It simply watched. like a hunter enjoying the fear of its prey. One officer broke down, shouting, "We must retreat. We cannot face it." The admiral roared, "Silence! We hold position. We are not cowards." But the truth was written on his face. Sweat glistened on his scaled skin. His claws dug into the armrest of his chair. Out there in the void, the human battleship waited. Seconds passed like hours. No words, no signals, no mercy. Only the silent void, broken by the monstrous shadow that had come to life. And deep inside, every alien heart whispered the same thought: there is no escape. The first shockwave, the alien fleet floated in tense silence. Every ship, every officer, every soldier felt the weight of the shadow that had appeared in the void. The human battleship had not spoken. It had not attacked. It only waited, and its waiting was worse than any weapon. Inside the alien flagship, Admiral Vare tried to keep his crew calm. His voice was firm, his eyes sharp, but deep inside his chest was a fear he had never known. He had fought many wars. He had crushed rebels, burned colonies, and won countless battles. Yet nothing in his long life had prepared him for this. The shadow finally moved. Slowly, the massive battleship turned. Its weapons lined up with the alien fleet. The glow of its energy cannons lit up the darkness like the eyes of a predator. The silence of space was broken by a low hum, a vibration that crawled through every alien hull. "Admiral," whispered the sensor officer, his claws shaking over the screen. "It is charging weapons." The admiral gritted his teeth. "Shields at full. Prepare to return fire." The alien fleet lit up. Energy shields flickered to life. Dozens of cannons aimed at the massive human vessel. They were ready, but they were not ready enough. The human battleship fired one single shot. It was not loud. It was not fast. It was silent, glowing like a spear of light cutting through the stars. It hit an alien cruiser at the edge of the fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then in a flash of white fire, the cruiser exploded into pieces. The blast was so strong, the shockwave shook every nearby ship. Gasps filled the alien bridge. Officers shouted in panic. The destroyed cruiser had been one of their strongest ships, armed with powerful weapons, armored with the best shields. Yet one shot had ended it like it was nothing. "Impossible," cried one officer. "Our shields should have held." "They did not even slow it down," shouted another. The admiral slammed his claw on the chair arm. "Silence! Hold position!" But even his voice carried fear now. On the main screen, the human battleship remained calm. It did not rush. It did not chase. It simply turned its guns toward the next target, slowly, coldly. The alien crews began to whisper, "It is playing with us. They are not fighting to win. They are hunting. This is what humans do." The admiral's stomach twisted. He knew the whispers were right. The humans were not rushing to destroy the fleet. They were sending a message. They wanted the aliens to feel fear, to understand their weakness before the real slaughter began. "Admiral, orders?" the officer asked, his voice trembling. For a moment the admiral said nothing. He stared at the shadow, his golden eyes reflecting its glowing weapons. Then with a deep breath he spoke. "All ships, fire on my command." The alien fleet obeyed. Dozens of energy blasts lit the void, flying toward the massive human ship. Blue, green, and red beams cut across the darkness, striking the battleship's hull. Explosions blossomed around it. For a moment, hope returned to the aliens, but when the smoke cleared, the battleship was still there. Unharmed, the weapons had done nothing, no damage, screamed the sensor officer. Not even a scratch. The bridge filled with despair. Some officers sank into their seats, others shook their heads in disbelief. Then, once more, the human battleship fired. Another cruiser exploded. Pieces of burning metal scattered into the void. Alien soldiers screamed as their comrades were lost in an instant. Panic broke loose. "We must retreat," one shouted. "There is no escape route," another cried. "They are blocking every path." The admiral stood frozen. His chest rose and fell as his claws dug into the chair. He wanted to fight, but every instinct told him it was useless. The humans were too strong. Their ship was too powerful. Still, he forced his voice to remain strong. "We fight. We hold this line. We will not run." But as he spoke, another shot lit the void. Another cruiser fell. The alien fleet was breaking apart, one ship at a time. And the human battleship was only just beginning. In the darkness, fear spread like fire. Every alien heart knew the truth. This was only the first shockwave. The real storm had not yet begun. The human strategy. The void burned with the wreckage of alien cruisers. Flames floated in the darkness, broken hulls scattered like bones. The alien fleet was no longer proud, no longer confident. They were prey, and they knew it. Yet the human battleship did not rush to finish them. It waited. It moved with slow precision, like a predator circling its cornered prey. Every moment of silence was heavy, every second filled with terror. On the alien flagship, Admiral Vayar stood tall, but inside, his chest tightened with dread. He could see the fear in his crew. They whispered, they trembled. Their golden eyes darted between screens and the shadow that haunted them. "Why do they not attack all at once?" one officer muttered. "They could destroy us in a moment. They want us to suffer," another answered, his voice weak. The admiral clenched his claws. The words were true. The humans were not only warriors, they were hunters, and hunters enjoyed breaking the spirit of their prey before the final strike. The battleship moved again, slowly, coldly. Its massive guns shifted, but instead of firing, it simply blocked another escape path. "They are cutting us off," the sensor officer whispered. His screen flashed red warnings. "Every exit, every safe route." "It is gone." The admiral's eyes narrowed. He understood now. This was not a random encounter. This was a trap. The humans had planned this. They knew the alien fleet's path, their strategies, even their weaknesses. "They have studied us," the admiral said quietly. His voice trembled with rage and fear. "They know everything." Gasps filled the bridge. The officers stared at him. To admit such a thing was unthinkable. But the proof was before their eyes. The humans had disabled the fleet's fastest ships first. They destroyed the cruisers that carried long-range cannons. They left the weaker ships alive, only to spread panic. Every move was calculated. Every strike had purpose. "This is war beyond numbers," the admiral whispered. "This is human war." The officers exchanged fearful looks. They had heard rumors of human tactics before, stories of battles where humans used deception, speed, and strange strategies to defeat enemies far stronger than them. But hearing was one thing. Seeing it unfold before their eyes was another. "Admiral," one officer said desperately, "what do we do? We cannot break their shields, and we cannot run." The admiral stared at the screen. His claws tapped the chair. He felt the weight of command pressing down on him like never before. To fight was suicide. To run was impossible. But to surrender to humans. He shuddered at the thought. Then the human battleship fired again. But this time it did not target a cruiser. It fired near them. The shot cut across the void, missing the ships on purpose. The explosion lit up the stars, blinding their screens for a moment. When the light faded, the alien fleet saw what had happened. The humans had destroyed a path of asteroids behind them. One of the last safe routes. Gasps filled the air. "They are herding us," the officer whispered in horror. The admiral's chest grew heavy. He could feel the noose tightening. Every move the humans made, every shot, every pause, it all forced the alien fleet into one small corner of the void. A trap with no exit. The bridge grew quiet. Officers stared at the shadow. No one spoke now. Their courage was gone. Their will was breaking. The admiral tried to speak, but his voice felt hollow. "We will not fall easily. We will fight until the end." But even as he said it, he knew the truth. The humans wanted them to fight. The humans wanted them to waste their strength, to exhaust their courage until nothing was left. On the main screen, the battleship turned again, slowly, patiently. Its weapons glowed like red eyes in the dark. The admiral's golden eyes dimmed. He finally understood what made humans so terrifying. They did not just win wars, they broke empires from the inside out, and his fleet was next. Desperate resistance, the alien fleet was cornered. Broken cruisers floated like corpses in the void. Sparks, flames, and twisted metal drifted in silence. And in the center of it all, the human battleship watched, calm, patient, unshaken. On the flagship, Admiral Veyar felt the weight of every lost ship. His claws trembled on the chair, but he forced his voice steady. "We cannot wait. If we do nothing, they will crush us one by one. We fight now. We strike with everything we have." His words rang across the comms. Thousands of alien voices answered with a single cry of defiance. Fear still burned inside them. But fear was all they had left to fuel their courage. Engines roared to life. The alien ships surged forward together. Cruisers, frigates, and destroyers formed a wall of firepower. Shields glowed, cannons charged, and missiles armed. For one last time, the alien fleet prepared to resist. "Admiral," the weapons officer shouted, "all ships are ready." Veyar's golden eyes locked on the human battleship. The monster still floated in silence, its guns glowing faintly, its hull like a mountain of steel in the dark. He raised his claw. "Fire!" The void exploded. Hundreds of beams of light tore across space. Missiles streaked toward the human ship like burning stars. Explosions lit the darkness with fury. The alien fleet poured everything they had into one attack, every weapon, every torpedo, every last ounce of strength. The void shook with the storm. For a moment, hope flickered in alien hearts. Maybe, just maybe. But then the light cleared. The human battleship was still there, unbroken, unmoved, unharmed. The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. Alien officers stared at their screens in disbelief. Soldiers whispered in horror, "It cannot be. No damage at all. This is not war. This is slaughter." The battleship's lights flared. Its guns charged. The response was brutal. One massive beam cut through the alien front line. A cruiser split apart, its hull tearing like paper. Another shot followed, and a frigate vanished in fire. The human ship fired again, and again, each shot precise, each shot final. Alien ships tried to dodge. They weaved, they twisted, but nothing worked. The human weapons were too fast, too powerful, too accurate. "Admiral, we are losing ships too quickly," cried the officer. Veyar's claws dug into his chair. "Tell them to press forward. We must close the distance. If we can board them." But before he could finish, the battleship unleashed something new. Dozens of smaller flashes erupted along its sides. Swarms of projectiles streaked into the alien fleet. Not energy beams, something else. Solid slugs of metal moving so fast they cut through shields and armor like knives. Alien ships erupted in fire. Hulls shattered. Crews were torn apart in seconds. The fleet's formation collapsed under the rain of destruction. Still, some ships pressed forward. Brave captains rammed their damaged vessels straight toward the human battleship. Their voices filled the comms with desperate cries. "For the Empire! For survival!" One destroyer broke through the barrage. It smashed against the human battleship's flank in a suicidal charge. A blinding explosion shook the void. Alien hearts held their breath. Had it worked? When the fire cleared, the truth was clear. The human battleship still stood. Its shields flickered for a moment, then stabilized. The alien destroyer was gone. The bridge of the flagship fell silent. Even Admiral Veyar had no words. His soldiers stared at him with wide, hopeless eyes. The humans were not only stronger, they were untouchable. Yet even in despair, the Admiral clenched his fists. "We will not surrender," he growled. "If this is the end, then we will meet it fighting." The fleet obeyed. Damaged ships limped forward, firing until their weapons burned out. Crews screamed in defiance as they were torn apart. Ship after ship vanished in explosions, but the battleship never slowed. It cut through the fleet with precision. Every shot a death sentence, every move a reminder. Resistance was useless. The void filled with wreckage. One by one, the alien lights went out, until only a handful remained. On the flagship, Admiral Veyar stood tall, his golden eyes burning with fading pride. He knew the truth now. They were never meant to win. The humans had come not to fight, but to show the galaxy what happened when a human battleship arrived out of the darkness. And soon, his fleet would be nothing but ash. Out of the darkness, the void was no longer silent. It burned with wreckage and flames. Alien cruisers, frigates, and destroyers floated broken, their lights fading one by one. The proud fleet of the Empire had been reduced to scraps drifting in the cold dark, and still, the human battleship stood untouched. On the alien flagship, Admiral Vayar stared at the main screen. His claws trembled, but his voice remained strong for his crew. "We are the last," he said quietly. Around him, officers looked pale, their golden eyes wide with fear. None dared to speak. The battleship moved again. Slowly, calmly, it turned toward the flagship like a predator choosing its final prey. Its weapons glowed red, brighter and brighter, until the whole bridge was filled with their reflection. An officer whispered, "Admiral, we cannot win. There is no escape." The words echoed like a curse. Vayar's jaw clenched. He wanted to deny it, to tell his crew that they would find a way, that they could survive. But the truth was carved into the void around them. His empire's greatest fleet had been destroyed by a single ship. No strategy, no courage, no sacrifice had mattered. This was power beyond anything he had ever imagined. This was human power. The battleship slowed. It did not fire yet. Instead, it transmitted a signal. For the first time, the alien fleet heard the voice of their hunter. It was deep, cold, human. "There is no escape." The word spread across every channel, reaching every surviving alien ear. Officers froze. Soldiers stared at one another in horror. The humans had not shouted. They had not threatened. They had simply spoken the truth. "There is no escape." The Admiral's claws dug into his chair. Rage burned inside him, but it was hollow, powerless. He had fought all his life, but now, facing this monster in the dark, he knew what fear truly was. The human battleship fired again. A beam of white light ripped across space, tearing apart another escort ship near the flagship. The explosion lit up the stars, and for a moment the void looked like fire. The battleship was not rushing. It was savoring this, one kill at a time. Vayar's officers turned to him. Their voices were broken. "What do we do?" "Admiral, should we surrender?" "Please, give the order." The Admiral's throat tightened. To surrender was shame. To fight was death. But in the face of humans, the difference no longer mattered. On the screen, the battleship came closer. Its shadow swallowed the stars, its glowing cannons like the eyes of a god. Vayar finally spoke, his voice heavy with defeat. "We are not fighting a warship. We are facing an extinction." The bridge fell silent. The humans fired again. Another ship was gone. The Admiral closed his golden eyes. Memories flashed in his mind. His victories, his pride, his empire. All of it meant nothing now. The humans had erased it in one night. The battleship stopped just outside firing range of the flagship. For a moment, time seemed frozen. Every alien heart beat with terror, waiting for the final strike. Then another transmission came. It was the same human voice, colder this time. "Tell your empire. Tell them what you saw. When a human battleship comes out of the darkness, there is no survival." The signal ended. Vayar's eyes widened. The humans were letting them live. Not out of mercy, but as a message. They wanted the Empire to know. They wanted the galaxy to fear. The battleship slowly turned away. Its massive hull disappeared back into the void, fading like a shadow until it was gone. The silence returned, but it was no longer empty. It was filled with terror. On the alien flagship, Admiral Vayar sank into his chair. His crew stared at him, waiting for words, but he had none. Only one truth echoed in his heart, the same words the humans had spoken. There is no escape. And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever.